Welcome to Tame Your Talent. In this lesson, it's know-it-all. Nobody likes a know-it-all, right? Am I right, you guys? Who likes a know-it-all, right? Well, in announcing, a know-it-all is pretty darn important because knowing it all as an announcer can really make or break what you're doing. Not knowing what you're talking about is a very hard thing to bring across on a microphone to people and expect them to listen to you and believe what you're saying. So being a know-it-all is important. Okay, so what's one of the best things you can do when it comes to an event? Know the schedule. Hey, that's some dynamic material right there, Brad. How much you get paid to drop that knowledge bomb? Well, I'll tell you what, knowing the schedule is huge because knowing the schedule is like just a piece of the puzzle to putting the whole thing together. And it starts with knowing the schedule. It may sound weird that knowing the schedule, you think like, why is that so important? I talked about it in other lessons. It's a way to break the mic, knowing the schedule. You don't have to ask yourself what you're talking about, what's going on, like what do I need to talk about? You just need to know the schedule because if you know the schedule and you know it the whole entire day, you can talk about the schedule. Doesn't that make it a little easier for you people? It makes it easy, doesn't it, right? So knowing the schedule is so important. How do you find the schedule? Hey, first off, try to get the schedule right away to the people you're working for. That's super important to do that. Get the schedule from the people you're working for, okay? Now, sometimes you can't get that schedule. I've had situations where I've asked for a schedule. I've begged, like, can I get a schedule? Can I get a schedule? And I can't get one. But then I decided, let me just go online and do a little searching. So I went online. Lo and behold, I found a schedule. You can find them. They're out there. So know that schedule. Get the schedule no matter what. One of the most important things you can do because that little piece can start off your first talk break and you can announce the whole day knowing the schedule because you know what's coming up next. You know what time it ends. You know what time it's scheduled to. You know it all. So being a know-it-all on the schedule is important. Research. Back to being a know-it-all. If you're going to be a know-it-all, how are you a know-it-all? You got to do your research. Once again, you've got to research the event. I mean, I cannot, and if you hear me talking about things more than once, that's because I'm trying to just reiterate how important things like that are. And if you hear me say something more than once in a couple different lessons, note that that's important and that's probably a test question as well. So when it comes down to it, do your research. And if, let's say it's a first-time event, you say, well, Brad, this is a first-time event. They don't have any background of the event. Nothing's going on. Well, what should you study? All right? What do you research if it's a first-time event you're doing? Okay? This is easy. That's an easy question. Look at the area you're at, okay? Find out some geography things. Find out some stuff about population. Find out about hotspots, places to go, where to see concerts, best place to fish, best place to surf, where do you go bowling, all this kind of stuff. Even picking up a local newspaper of the area you're doing an event is a big thing. Like you can tell me like, oh, there is no material. It's a first time event. I didn't get anything. We'll create this stuff. Make it happen by knowing the area inside and out. And then knowing the sponsors. If there are sponsors involved in this thing, know the sponsors too as well. So research, important, all right? Breaking the ice. I talked about it before. When I tell you knowing the schedule is this little piece of the puzzle and it all fits in, that's breaking the ice too. Knowing the schedule helps you break the ice. So if you're breaking the ice to the crowd and you're talking to the crowd for the first time, you know what? Those people want to know the schedule. So that's actually pretty good to know the schedule. And then no one has to ask you what the schedule is because you're given the schedule, okay? It's one of those things, back in the day when I used to wait tables at a restaurant, one of my tricks I used to like to do as a waiter, and this is my college job, was to wait on a table and not let them ask me for anything. You know what that means? So that means to be able to anticipate when they're gonna need something. You see their drink glass getting lower. I would go to them and ask, can I get you another drink? Can I get you a refill? You see they're done with the plate. Don't let them say, can you remove my plates? You remove it for them, see? When they're done eating, Instead of letting them ask you for a dessert list, you bring the dessert list ahead of time, drop it off, okay? If it's after dinner drinks, you talk to them about that ahead of time. So I'd have this game in the restaurant business where I would want to wait on a table and they wouldn't have to ask me for anything. I would be the one just prompting them on anything they wanted to do. So one of those things, that's pretty important to be able to do. And that's kind of a thing with announcing. If you're giving the schedule and you're giving the times and you're telling the people where to be and where to go, you understanding this? If you're doing all that, well, that's all part of it right there. They don't have to ask for it because they're getting that information and they're listening to you. See? It's a good one. It works. Trust me on that one. Talking about knowing the event, how does your job fit in at the event? That's a pretty important one too. What are the expectations? You kind of need to know that from the people that you're working for. And if you have a boss that's a person that you're working for, you might want to talk to them ahead of time and say, what are the expectations? What do you need me to do? And then ask questions. Oh, so you want me to start it off doing this and then go into this and then introduce this later on? So having that is pretty important, how your role fits in, how your job fits in. I talked about event history. If it's an event that's been on before, know the history of it. If not, know the history of the area you're at. Super important there. Expectations, that's a great one, talking about what your bosses think. And that's one of the biggest things, talking to the boss and find out what their expectations are of you. Now, I've done some other events where I've had to ask, like, what do you need me to do today? Who am I working with? Am I working by myself? Am I working with someone? These are things that you need to know, right? You understand that, right? So your event expectations, what you're being responsible for, is important to fulfill. Because if you're fulfilling those things that you're responsible for, then you're making that person who's hired you happy. They're in control. They feel better about it, okay? So knowing your expectations is very important. Knowing how to get the job done. Now you're saying, how am I supposed to know how to get this job done? I've never even done this job before. Well, there's a few things. What do you need to get the job done? Like if someone hired you to announce something and said to you, okay, I'm going to hire you to announce this. So what would you want to ask them? Well, you could ask them, what do I need to do the job? Or you can ask yourself, what do you need to perform this job correctly? Okay. You can ask the person, do you have a microphone? Yes, we have a microphone. Yes, we have sound. We have speakers and all that. Okay. So you don't need to bring any of that stuff. You're not expected to do that. You're expected to just be on the mic. So one of the things I like to do is bring the tools of the trade. Oh, teachable moment, teachable moment. Tools of the trade. Going to go back to my restaurant days on this one. Tools of the trade are this. The tools you need to get the job done. So back in the day, tools of the trade for me back in the restaurant days was wine opener, pen, book to write in, paper to write on, okay? That was my tools of the trade. Tools of the trade for announcing, that's a little different. Announcing, I like to have a pretty big bag. Like I like to bring tape with me because if I'm on outside events, I like to be able to tape notes down, okay? I like to have a clipboard with me. I like to have highlighters. I like to have pens. I like to have extra paper. I like to have an extension cord. I mean, why? I like to have my phone plug-in because sometimes I can pull information off my phone, right? So you need to have all this stuff. Those are the tools of the trade. So when you're going to announce something, have the things that I just talked about. Have those things with you. Travel to an event with a clipboard. Like when I show up at an event, I have a clipboard. I got pens and papers. I got fresh highlighters. I got everything in my bag. I can tape down notes on a windy day. See, this is all stuff that I prepare for. I might even have 2 clipboards in there. I'm always ready. Tools of trade, you need to have them. All right. Now, you know what's important, people? Finishing strong, okay? Finish strong, all right? Talked about that earlier. It's about when you're done with that event, finish strong. Know where to send the folks. Make sure you finish strong. Even say who you are at the end of the day if you need to, but finish strong. Don't make it so people don't know the end of the event. So when the end of the event's over, announcing it's the end of the event, thank all the sponsors, thanks all the people for being there, thank the food vendors, thank everyone involved with it, tell everyone to have a safe drive home, and that's it. Goodbye, thank you, and goodbye. All right, story time, love story time, one of my favorites. Okay, every single one of these lessons, you always get a little story at the end. Now this one is an awards situation. Now, major television sporting event I was doing, and I was doing the awards. And when you go out and do the awards, you announce third place, second place, first place. You announce all those awards, right? All right. And I had to do, I think it was 3 different sets of awards, right? So you guys understand, right? It's not the easiest thing to do. And so I'm given this information. I'm given this information by a certain person who that is their one job, is to do the awards, okay? These awards were on television. So these were on a major network when I was doing these awards. So wow, cool that it's TV time. Always good. That helps me get more work being on TV. So here I am on TV, major sporting event. I'm going through the awards. I say who's third place. He comes up, gets on the podium. I say who's second place. He calls me from behind and goes, no, I was first place. And the first place guy I had was second place. So I have this completely wrong in front of me, national television at a sporting event, and I am wrong. I had been given the wrong information by the person whose one job was to get that stuff right, and they gave it to me wrong. You know how I fixed it? I'll tell you how I fixed it. That was probably about almost 10 years ago. And since then, I do my own awards. I write down the top 3. I get it from the judges. And when people try to rush me and say, Brad, we need you down there. We got to have you do awards. I will not go until I handwrite my 3, my number 2, and my number 1. And I write them down in my face, and I make sure they are correct now. That happened to me, and it was one of the most embarrassing moments in an award show on national television that I've ever been part of. And since then, has it ever happened again? No, because I will not let it happen. All right? So you know how to handle things, and you can fix things quite easy. And that's how I handle it nowadays. I don't let anyone else do it. I do it all myself. And that is Tame Your Talent, and that is Know It All. Thanks for tuning in.